There's an incredible Gemara in Mod Katan and Daf Yud Chet that says, Brit Kutalis for time. When a person says something, it becomes real. It turns into something that is manifested, something that turns into real life. And the Gemara brings an instance there with Pinchas, who was sitting Shiva. He was sitting for a relative of his that passed away, and his brother Shmuel came to visit him. He came to Sibi Menachem Oval. Day that he was sitting there, Shmuel noticed that the fingernails of Pinchas were long, were over beyond the amount that it should be, and therefore he asked him, "Why are you not cutting your fingernails? Aren't you supposed to cut your fingernails?" So he told him, "And if you were sitting Shiva, would you also not go ahead and cut your fingernails? You wouldn't go ahead and cut your fingernails also?" Obviously Shmuel was Sfardi, because Sfardim actually hold that you're not allowed to go ahead and cut your fingernails. And Pinchas, Kanira was Ashkenazi. The problem is that they were both brothers. But anyways, when Pinchas said that to him, he said to him, "And if you were sitting avelut on someone, would you not go ahead and cut your nails also?" Soon afterwards, Shmuel, a couple weeks later, ended up sitting Shiva for one of his close and direct relatives. When Pinchas came, his brother, to visit him in Menachem Oval, Shmuel was very perturbed, and he cut off his fingernails in front of him and threw it in front of Pinchas, and he said, "Because of you, Brit Kutalis Fatayim, Kishkaga Yotzmi Pia Shalit, because you went ahead and spoke out the fact that I will sit or could sit Shiva," so it ended up causing an effect which can lead to me also sitting Shiva. And look, it really happened. Words are powerful. Words are dangerous. Words can cause damage in an incredible type of way. And there are a number of Gemaras which bring this out. I'm not going to extend on all of them. I just want to mention a couple of them very quickly. The Gemara in Brachot and Daf Yud Tet brings about a person that Lo Aleinu lost a relative, and it says over there, when he is matztik alavet adin, what's known as tziduk adin, when he's going ahead and not thanking Hashem, but telling Hashem that I'm okay with what happened, the nusach that's brought there is Ribono shel olam chatati lefanecha v'lo nifrati mimene echad mi'elef, and you didn't pay me back 1 in 1,000. Amongst the nusach it says, and you didn't even pay me back enough for what I deserve. And over there Abaye comes along and proclaims, "Don't you dare say that." He takes that statement out and says, "Don't say such a statement, because that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to leave room for more to happen. You're leaving room for something else to occur." As Abaye brings down that Brit Kutalis Fatayim, because it says Kimat Kizdom, and he brings a proof from a pasuk when they spoke out that we're acting like Zdom, then Zdom almost occurred to them. Yeshayahu goes ahead and calls them Anshe Zdom, Ktine Zdom, because of doing it. And this is actually brought le'alacha in Hilchot Avelut and Siman Reish Ayin Vov in Yeridea, is brought down by Tziduk Adin. It says to be careful not to be potech pila satan, ever to go ahead and say that I really don't deserve it, and I really deserve more, and worse should be coming to me. And the Shulchan Aruch also brings down over there that even though a Rav can go ahead and tell someone who's standing up for them, "Please sit, don't stand up for me," he says, but if they're sitting of a lut, don't you dare tell them to sit. If a Rav walks in and the Oval goes ahead and wants to stand up, don't say, no, you could sit. Don't you dare say that, because you're kilu saying, "Shev be'avilutcha," you should sit and stay more in your avilut. When you say that, then lo aleinu, then they will have another avelut that will follow. That's what the Gemara over there brings. The Gemara in Ketuvot also brings by Birkat Avelim, when a brother gives a bracha to the Avel, over there it says that there are many ways that it happens, and we know that this is from the beginning of Breshit, that people die, and part of the Nusach was, and it happened in the past, and it will happen in the future, Ma'aser Rishonim, Ma'aser Achronim, and over there again, Abaye steps up to the bat, and he says, "Don't you dare say such words. You're not allowed to go ahead and say, and it will happen, because you're causing it to happen. You're causing it to occur once again." The Gemara in Brachot and Daf Samech, again Abaye, brings down that when a person says the nusach of going into a merchatz, to a shower house, where back then it was incredible how dangerous. You should appreciate our showers. To get a hot shower over there, you had to go ahead and walk on top of a cauldron fire in order to be able to get some hot water. So over there it brings in the nusach, in the bracha that you say before you go in, it says, "Ve'im yerebi," and if something chas v'shalom happens to me and he falls into the fire, you get a crack in the floor and you fall into Gehenna over there, if something happens, it should be a kapara for me. Abaye says, scratch that. Take that one out also. Abaye was a yatom. He himself was an orphan, who was very makpid. He was very stringent to make sure that you don't say any things that are out of touch, to make sure that you're not allowed to say things which are out of perspective. The Magen Avram in Siman Reish Lametet in Or Chaim, Siman Reish Lametet, by Kriyat Shema Lamita, as we all know, we say Kriyat Shema Lamita. And there are opinions that say you should say the vidui of a person who's lo aleinu dying. A person who's lo aleinu dying, there's a special vidui that one should say, chas shalom, when that occurs to a person. Magen Avraham says, don't you dare say that. He brings it right in the beginning of Simon Reish Lamed. And even when a person's sitting on his bed because it's a dangerous time, and the Maharsha states, because of the time when sometimes we can have gzerot, decrees upon us, a person should be careful not to say things that are against, that can be held against you, chas shalom. I one time saw a beautiful piece from Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and he wrote in the calendars that they bring many times on Rosh Hashanah, at the end of the calendar, they bring the last day of Rosh Hashanah, and it says, Tichle Shana v'Kiloloteya, the year should finish in all its curses, V'Tachel Shana u'Birchoteya, and we should only have a Shana of Bracha. That's what it says. And he told the calendars to scratch that, take that out. I'm not happy that you're putting that inside of the calendars. He said, the year didn't go by yet. They're printing a calendar the whole entire year, and the last day of the calendar, they write Tichle Shana v'Kiloloteya, the year with all its klalot should be finished. What year with klalot? It didn't even have a year yet. You can say that bracha at the end of the year, but before the year even started, to write in the calendar about this coming year, and as a result of that, the calendars took it out. Never say something of a kitrug that comes out of your mouth, no matter what it has to do. Whether it's for the good or the bad. The Pri Chadash also brings in the Graz. They bring that when you're threatening a child, a person should not threaten a child, but you want to tell them about a punishment, they speak out very clearly over there. Don't threaten them with some dog or cat is going to bite you, or if you don't listen to me, you're going to get in trouble, or the monster is going to get in. You shouldn't say these things, because it might come and happen. It might end up coming. Brit Kutalis for time, that it could end up happening, and it could be taken advantage of in a very uncomfortable way. Now this is very relevant to all the parshiyot that we've experienced in the second half of Sefer Breshit. Over here in Parshat Vayechi, we see the power of words that Yaakov Avinu gives a bracha to Ephraim and Menashe and to the rest of the Shvatim, and it only comes when he sees them, and he goes ahead and spills over a shefa of bracha with the words that he does. We also see it with the power of the dreams. All the dreams, as the Gemara in Brachot says, only comes acharei chalamot olech acharei peh. After what a person decrees from the mouth, that's what happens. The sorrow Phim ended up getting killed, and the other way around with the butler who got saved because of the power of the mouth of Yosef Tzaddik. But I want to bring you a couple very interesting places where we find this power of the mouth. First of all, the pasuk says, the Pnei David points out, "Vayegidu lo lemor od Yosef chai." When they came and told Yaakov Avinu in last week's parsha, in Parshat Vayigash, that Yosef Tzaddik is still alive, lo yamin lahem vayafeg libo. He didn't believe him. Why did you believe him? Yosef's alive. Enjoy. Take advantage of the fact. Or why can't you believe them? So says the Pnei David, the reason is because Yehuda said previously, Ve'achiv met. Yehuda pointed out to the king, who was Yosef, he pointed out to them, Ve'achiv met. He proclaimed that Yosef Tzaddik is dead in the beginning of Parashat Vayigash. And by proclaiming the words Ve'achiv met, Yaakov Avinu understood, finished, that it must be that Yosef Tzaddik is not going to make it. It must be that he is not around. And therefore, Vayafeg libo, he had certain hesitations, certain sfeikot, certain doubts about his lifespan. Another example, and the Midrash brings, as we all know, when Yaakov Avinu was running away from Esav. So Eliphaz was on his way, the son of Esav chased after him, who was the father of Amalek, chased after him, and he caught up to Yaakov Avinu. He was a fast guy. He was able to catch up to him, and he said, this part is more famous. He said, my father said I have to kill you. My father said, people back then, kibud avehem, I have to do what I have to do. My father said I got to do what he has to do. But the second part of the Midrash is less known. Over there in the Midrash, it brings down that he said, and my father said I have to cut off your head and bring it to him to prove that I actually killed you. He wants to see your head. So Yaakov Avinu told him, listen, mitzad, killing me, take all the money, and it's as if I'm dead. We know a poor person's considered he's dead. Take all my money and it's dead. He says, but what am I going to do about the head part? I got to go ahead and give your head to him. He said, tell him on the way that I had his head, but it got eaten up by a lion. Some lion came on the way, was hungry for lunch, and he ended up devouring his head. And as a result of that, now it is not around. And Baruch Hashem, Mida Kereged Mida, because Esav asked for Yaakov's head, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care in Parashat Vayechi of Esav's head. Esav's head got cut off because he was beckoning for Yaakov's head instead. From here we learn, quit while you're ahead, as they say. But anyways, the idea that we learn that happened over here, that's why, over here, and that's why the Sefer I saw in Niflo Teotecha, said a beautiful pshat, that's the reason why Yaakov Avinu, when he went to rest, put stones around his head, the most unusual thing. It says over there, he put stones around his head to protect himself. If you want to protect yourself, cover your whole body with stones. You're all exposed. It's like an ostrich sticking his head in the sand. Well, what does it help to cover yourself up with stones without help? Because he knew that since he told Eliphaz that tell Esav, he's going to speak out to Esav that I had Yaakov's head and it got devoured by a lion, he was afraid that a lion would come and devour his head. He was afraid that it would come because Brit Kutalas Fatayim, things actually take place. And we'll finish with the last and most becoming of all of this story. There's incredible Vilna Gaon. One of Vilna Gaon you will never forget. It's a Pnei Gaon that says when Eishes Potiphar was coming to take advantage of Yosef, when the wife of Potiphar wanted to go ahead and seduce Yosef to do horrible things, the pasuk says, "V'tit paseu bebigdosh." She grabbed him with his clothing. Leimor shechvayimi, and she said to him, "Lie down with me." Vayezeh bigdo biyodo, and he ran away. He ran away. What's this extra word leimor? You only say the word leimor when you're telling someone to tell someone else. It's enough to say "V'tit paseu bebigdosh." She should tell him, and she said she should go ahead, and she said Shichvaimi. Leimor is when you tell someone to tell. It says Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Leimor. Tell Bnei Israel. Tell Moshe to go ahead and tell Bnei Israel. What is this narrative that she's telling Yosef? It's only the two of them in there. They were alone in the room. What's Vayitit Pasei Leimor? It says the Vilna Gaon, incredible idea. And Vilna Gaon, this is Mamish Torah Misina here. He says that the idea of Leimor was, she was telling him, look, I know I'm not going to get you. I know you're a big tzaddik. I know you're not going to fall for it. But at least say the words shichvaimi. At least say I'll lie down with you. At least say down I'll have relations. Just say the words. You don't have to, and then I'll let you go. Just say the words. Because she knew the sword of Brit Kutalas Fatayim. She knew the secret that if she got him to say it, then she'll get him halfway there. Just by saying it, it's almost as if you're already there. The Sitra Achra will get the better of him, will be able to take advantage of him. And that's why it said that he actually ran away. He didn't even say the words. He ran away before. He was afraid of even having to speak out something. He was worried that he would say the wrong thing. And that's the important, incredible idea of knowing, of being incredibly careful for the good and for the bad. As we know, it says by Akedah Yitzchak also, Chazal tell us that before he went up on the mountain, he said to Yishmael and he said to Eliezer, "V'ishtachavem v'nashuva aleichem." We're going to go daven and we're going to come back. And it says over there, because he said we're coming back, they came back. He came back with Yitzchak. He didn't end up sacrificing Yitzchak because of those words. So at least we see a very important point here. For the good and for the bad, a person has to know how to control his mouth. We are extremely careful in kashrut to know what comes in, and we're very meticulous with every type of hechsher, but sometimes we don't speak out without a hechsher also. We say things that are out of place, whether it's nivul peh, many times a Baal Tshuva. One of the biggest problems that a Baal Tshuva has to be in terms of how to control his mouth, because we are raised with this horrific idea that's known as freedom of speech. It's something that is a completely anti-Torah concept, even though we're raised with it in our blood, it's in our DNA. Freedom of speech, say whatever you want. Ribono shel olam, are you crazy? Of course you're not allowed to say whatever you want. A person has to know before he says something and think twice before he spits out some horrible comments or negativity about someone else or negativity about yourself in the situation. Because we see from here that the more negative you are, the more you speak out negativity, the more it's going to happen. And if you do the other way, if you say, "V'nashuva aleichem," you speak out and you take a situation and you interpret it in a positive way and you speak it out in a positive way, you're going to be good to go. It'll help you out. Nivul peh, saying words that are, what's a nivul peh? Slander words, words that are foul language. Using foul language turns you into a foul person. You yourself, as I one time heard from a Rav of mine who said, your tongue is being used sometimes for divrei Torah, and you use that same tongue, which is an Aron Kodesh, to go ahead and speak out foul language. Doesn't make any sense. And L'Avonenu, it's very hard for people to get away from it. People love it. People feel so connected. Like I said, it's usually one of the bigger problems of a Baal Tshuva. And lastly, with this I'll finish, but in my opinion, this is my own thing. Take it or leave it. You can disagree. I have no problem. But I do feel it has a certain emet to it. A year and a half ago, we were sitting here in Tafshin Pei in Chanukah time Be'erech, A year and a half ago, in this country, in Eretz Israel, there was screams of civil war. There were people that were trouncing the streets, 100,000 people, which is, I want to point out, is a miut of a miut, a small amount of people. We have 8 million people in this country. Leave the Arabs, we have about 7.5 million to 8 million people, Jews in this country, and 100,000 people don't make an impression on me at all, because most of the people were not proud of them, but they were screaming, civil war, we're going to kill, we're going to go ahead, if you don't do what we say, we're going to go ahead, and people were saying we're really leading to some type of split in the country, something, and the words of it was literally the words of Milchama was coming against us, words. I believe, and this is my own pshat, and I do believe it has to do, because they said there was civil war happening, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a war. Hashem didn't want it to be a civil war, He was protecting us from a civil war. Chas v'shalom, that we should ever have a war amongst our brothers. But if you say the word war, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a war. We've been in a bitter, terrible war. Over 2,000 people have died, of the cream of the crop, because of that ugly word that we call war, and it's all because people were saying the words brit kutal, so time, war. Person has to know how to take the positive light, how to work it out, to be able to be careful before you say something negative, before you say words, to think twice, to make sure when you're about to say something, to think about it, and just like we said, you take a hechsher when you put something in, make sure there's a hechsher, a kashrut, before you say something out also.